you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
On a college campus, conservative activist Charlie Kirk
has been shot. We have very few details so far. Activist Charlie Kirk has been shot at an event that he was hosting at a Utah college.
Great, and even legendary Charlie Kirk is dead. No one understood or had the heart of the youth in the United States of America better than Charlie. He was loved. We love you. The statement there from President Trump as Charlie Kirk, we are told now, has died.
Charles James Kirk built a political empire from his parents' garage. At just 18, he founded Turning Point USA, an organization that would become the youth wing of the MAGA movement. Charlie Kirk and Donald Trump had a symbiotic relationship. Kirk delivered the youth, the energy, and the ground game, while Trump gave Kirk a national stage and legitimized his confrontational style. He wasn't just a commentator. He was a MAGA operative. His method was direct and made for social media. The Prove Me Wrong tour was political theater designed to provoke, antagonize, and dominate, a tactic that capitalized on social media's rage-driven algorithm. But the foundation of his influence was a radical, bigoted ideology that targeted nearly every pillar of modern American society.
White man, fight back! White man, fight back! White man, fight back! White man, fight back!
Black America was getting richer, they were getting stronger, and families were largely still put together before the Great Society, Voting Rights Act, and Civil Rights Act. 60 years later, Black America is in a worse position. Were they trying to hijack her? Were these blacks trying to go rob her? Happening all the time in urban America. Prowling blacks go around for fun to go target white people. That's a fact. Is in Leviticus 18, is that thou shalt lay with another man shall be stoned to death. Just saying. The NCAA is a perverted organization. They platformed a biological male who won a national championship and then was allowed in incredibly disturbing detail to be around you and your fellow competitors. And again, I blame the decline of American men. This never should have been, someone should have just took care of it the way we used to take care of things in the 1950s or 60s, but the way we used to take care of things in the 1950s or 60s. Black America really needs to get its act together and stop sleeping around all the time, and needs to actually have
why would you
because it's true. Because it's true.
Walk?
The Great Replacement strategy, which is well underway every single day on our southern border, is a strategy to replace white rural America with something different.
I think it's worth it. I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights. That is a prudent deal. It is rational.
It was a deal Charlie Kirk would come to embody. But sometimes words have a price. And on one sunny afternoon in Utah, Kirk paid that price with his life.
Do you know how many mass shooters there have been in America over the last 10 years?
Counting or not counting gang violence?
Great.
At UVU, they're trying to lock the library down now, still gathering. Maybe the CS building is just east of the library. He's wearing jeans, black shirt, black mask, long rifle. Is on top of the building on the far north side, just east of the library, wearing jeans, black shirt, black vest.
Into UVU, there was one shot. We are staging at the front of the school by the roundabout.
418 copy. How many injured do we have? Just one person.
September 10th, 2025. 8:29 in the morning, a gray Dodge Challenger enters a Utah Valley University parking garage. The alleged assassin has arrived. For the next 4 hours, he moves across campus, changing his appearance, scouting his location. This is not a crime of passion. It is a planned execution. By 12:22 p.m., the killer is in position. Charlie Kirk has no idea that he is in the middle of his final debate. A single shot, a devastating wound to the neck, and chaos would ensue afterwards. For the next 33 hours, America would be glued to their phones, to their computer screens, to their social media feeds. They would detain an individual who turned out to not be the shooter. They released grainy stills of who they thought the shooter might be. But the break in the case didn't come from a tip line or any good police work. It came from 260 miles away, when a father, a 22-year veteran of law enforcement, recognized his son in the video. After confronting his son and going back and forth with his local pastor, Tyler James Robinson agreed to surrender and turned himself in. And as usual, people began to speculate online about the motives of Robinson.
It looks like he was radicalized over the internet, and it's radicalized on the left. He's a left. For years, those on the radical left have compared wonderful Americans like Charlie to Nazis and the world's worst mass murderers and criminals. This kind of rhetoric is directly responsible for the terrorism that we're seeing in our country today.
Of course, it was a political assassination. It was not just a murder. It was clearly politically oriented. Charlie Kirk was murdered. He was killed by a subhuman piece of debris for the great crime of speaking truth in debate. That is why he was killed.
People wanted to believe that he was either a far-right fascist, as most mass shooters are. Others were convinced that he was a far-left communist, a leftist who just wanted to kill Charlie Kirk because he was a Christian. Turns out the answer remains not as easy as people would have liked. Tyler Robinson was a former honor student from a conservative Mormon family, an electrician's apprentice, an avid gamer, increasingly online, and increasingly radicalized. Investigators found a Mauser rifle and unused cartridges on the hillside. Each casing had been scratched with a phrase or a symbol. The messages ranged from silly memes from the furry community like, "Notices bulge, OWO, what's this?" and irreverent memes like, "If you read this, you're gay, LMAO. On one casing referenced the game Helldivers 2 with "Hey Fascist, catch," followed by a sequence of arrows, a reference to calling in a 500 kg bomb stratagem. One that was a clear nod to anti-fascism was the Italian resistance lyric "O Bella Ciao," an Italian anti-fascist resistance anthem from World War II, used by both the left and the right in internet culture. And other reporting noted that authorities saw his relationship with a transgender partner as central to his grievance, while others still used that fact to solidify their belief that he was a groyper, a fan of popular white supremacist Nick Fuentes. This blend of anti-fascist slogans, video game references, and edgelord memes threw people off on what his ideology actually was. And as it turns out, that probably was the point. This killing of Charlie Kirk might have just been a shitpost. As police closed in on the house to pick up Robinson, on Discord he would state, "It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry." Moments later, he would turn himself in. Robinson is charged with aggravated first-degree murder, felony discharge of a firearm, and obstruction. Prosecutors say they'll pursue the death penalty. Investigators, including the FBI, report no evidence of a larger conspiracy. All signs point to a lone actor driven by grievance and online extremism. Amongst politicians, celebrities, and other public figures, condemning the shooting was bipartisan. But not everybody felt that way. Immediately, the country was split. There were some who cheered, people who made memes and music. Some people played the crab dance, an internet meme for celebration. Others were just irreverent or unempathetic. Dozens of people lost their jobs. People received death threats, and a website even popped up overnight tracking and doxing people who had celebrated Charlie Kirk's death. Now, I have to be honest, when I found out that Charlie Kirk had been shot, I said good. Not because I think murder is good, but because Charlie Kirk is a horrible, racist, bigoted person who spent his entire career making life dangerous for Black and brown people trans people, other queer folk. And with his death, that was one less voice working day and night to make life dangerous for them. Charlie Kirk, in no uncertain terms, was a stochastic terrorist. And while many people are looking for the reason for this, while people like Donald Trump are saying the reason is because of the rhetoric behind the left, and by the way, if you haven't already, you're going to hear that a lot. Outrage from the right about political violence and so-called lack of civility. But their outrage is selective. And we have to ask, where was that energy before? Remember, when Nancy Pelosi's 82-year-old husband was brutally attacked with a hammer, they didn't call for unity. They made jokes. They had conspiracy theories. When Melissa Hortman, a Democratic politician in Minnesota, was murdered, where was the wall-to-wall coverage on Fox News? Where was Donald Trump?
In retrospect, given all of the moving ways that this White House has paid tribute to Charlie Kirk, do you think it would have been fitting to lower the flags, to have staff when Melissa Hortman, the Minnesota House Speaker, was gunned down by an assassin as well?
I'm not familiar.
Where were any of the conservative leaders condemning that political violence? There was silence. So please understand that this moral panic isn't genuine at all. It's a political weapon that they use when they can capitalize on it. They don't care about political violence. They only care when it happens to their side. The fact of the matter is that Charlie Kirk wasn't just a conservative. He mainstreamed bigotry and cruelty directly into the minds of America's youth.
You had a daughter and she was 10 and she got raped. And she was going to give birth and she would, and she was going to give birth and she was going to live. Would you want her to go through that and carry her baby?
That's awfully graphic.
But it's a real life scenario that happens to many people.
The answer is yes, the baby would be delivered. I'm sorry, if I see a black pilot, I'm going to be like, boy, I hope he's qualified.
He's the one who said,
I think it's worth to have a cost of, unfortunately, some gun deaths every single year so that we can have the Second Amendment to protect our other God-given rights.
if there's anybody to blame for Charlie Kirk's shooting, for Charlie Kirk's death, it's Charlie Kirk. Now, I don't want it to be mistaken. I think it's valid to not feel anything. I actually think it's valid to even feel happiness that somebody like Charlie Kirk is no longer able to spew his hate online. But random acts of murder is not the way to silence your opponent. It is the height of individualism. It is not revolutionary. Nobody was liberated from this movement. No systems of oppression were dismantled. And as a matter of fact, the very activists and organizers who are on the ground working every day for their communities, they're the ones who are in danger. HBCUs across the nation received death threats. Again, it was a straight white male from a MAGA family that did this, but HBCUs. When we cross that line into random murder, into the type of political violence that is not part of revolutionary action, then we are only working to undo any chance that we have to get the revolution in the first place. With a single bullet, Charlie Kirk, an evil piece of shit of a person, was martyred. Donald Trump and the rest of the fascists behind Project 2025 got their catalyst to be able to continue and ramp up the breakdown in whatever version of democracy we had in the first place. Real change doesn't come from rooftop shootings or blowing up recruiting stations. Real change comes from a mass movement. Real change comes from the people, not a person. It comes from collective action. We fight in our elections, in mutual aid, in mass organizing. It looks like change that is permanent, not fleeting. If you want to make a difference, look for one of the organizations that were blamed for the shooting in the first place, even though they had nothing to do with it. Check out your DSA or your PSL or any of the other various organizations that are out there working to make your communities a better place. Charlie Kirk said a few dead was a prudent deal, but in the end, the life that was paid was his own. But what do you think? Do you think I'm off base? Was Charlie a good person? Should we be all in mourning no matter what side we're on? Let me know in the comments. And if you like this video and you want to see more videos like this, please like and share. It's free. Take care of yourself. I love you. If you read this, you're gay? Shit. My wife is going to be pissed.